Bukhari is polytheism and disbelief, shirk and kufr. And you know, we open up in our orientation segment from the Quran when it says that, "O Prophet, yeah, Prophet, we have sent you as a witness and as a bringer of good news and as a warner." And that Prophet Muhammad is a da'i, wa da'iyan, from the word da'i, dawah, wa da'iyan illallah bi'idnihi wa sirajan munir, and a lamp giving light. That the Prophet is a caller. While da'iyan means that the Prophet is a caller. Some translators say a summoner. A caller unto Allah, and as a lamp giving light. This is what that's saying. That Prophet Muhammad is like a lamp giving light. And sometimes we don't understand. We feel that we try to put what we hear into our own understanding in many cases, and we miss it. Some of us think we know it, and sometimes it hit us so strong until I say, "Ooh, I can't handle that one," and we miss some very valuable information. And it says here. It says, well, before we even define shirk, maybe someone can share with us what when they hear the word, and they're new Muslims. We have some brothers here are new to the community. In fact, Brother Christopher took his Shahadatain a couple of weeks ago. Brother Sean and very good brothers here, and they seem to be very enthusiastic brothers. And we're thankful for that. But when you hear the word shirk, what conjures up in the mind what that is? Brother?
Think of something negative.
Think of something negative. Shirk as being something negative. What about you, Christopher?
Yeah, I did something wrong.
Huh?
I did something wrong in the eyes of Allah.
Okay. What about you?
I think of false conceptions.
Very good. Anybody? We hear the word shirk. See, we hear a lot of these terms, and if we don't understand them, you know, babies are innocent, they're good. But it takes knowledge, it takes useful knowledge to get out of our situation. And yes, does anybody have? Yes?
You get away from what you're supposed to do. Afraid of something.
Afraid? That's good. That's gonna be covered. Yes. Shirk. See, we have to know these things, because what happens is, if we don't know, it's not that you're not a bad person. This is like if you got somebody is maybe 7 years old, 3 years old. You're incapacitated, and this 3-year-old, your grandchild, and you need somebody to drive you home. Nobody else is around. The child is 3 years old. A better example, say 5 years old, but the child is very precocious. The child knows, and maybe you can instruct them, and maybe they can drive you home. It is the knowledge. If the child doesn't have the knowledge, we're not going to do anything. We're not going to grow into these various levels and areas of sophistication. Now the society is moving. Now you might be sort of shy and reluctant about moving in the direction to be successful in life. That's just like today computers. You can buy a computer now, I think I was reading the paper, for less than $1,000 with all the bells and whistles, right? They will send you to school for about $50 and show you how to operate it. It's user-friendly, meaning it's not anything intimidating about it. A couple of hours, and with the desire to know how to operate your computer at home, you can step through things that used to take months and months to achieve. You can do it. You can learn how the language. They got some language programs. They got the sound where you actually hear it, recite it. Quran, right there at home. Quran, go through the alphabet, anything. I'm just trying to cite to you that it's knowledge, useful knowledge. The Prophet spoke of useful knowledge. Go to China if you have to accept it. Oh, I ain't going to China. Them Chinese over there, they ain't Muslims. I ain't going to China. No, this is the advice of the Prophet. If you have to seek knowledge of China, you go to China and get the knowledge. It is useful knowledge that can bring us out of our situation. Now, we have a phenomena where many come into certain degrees of sophistication and we lose them. They're gone. So we become a body like without a head, without sophisticated people, or those people with knowledge that would help the new person, help people that are just coming in. And if you have like a headless body, you're not going to do anything. Knowledge is something that we as Muslims say, seek knowledge from the cradle to the grave. Seek it. Seek knowledge, and knowledge is nothing to really be afraid of. And especially the correct knowledge, the knowledge of Almighty God. So we're going to cover some of these points, and they might spark something, because these are concepts. These are Islamic concepts that we have to know. You might be good, you might be honorable, but if you don't know anything, you won't be useful. And it's the knowledge, and the experiences we've had, we are extremely useful and knowledgeable. We just have to know how to apply it. So let us define a definition of shirk. Basically, it's polytheism, many gods. The worship of others along with Allah. It also implies attributing the divine attributes to any other besides Allah. It particularly implies associating partners in worship with Allah, or set up rivals in worship with Allah, or to believe that the source of power, harm, or blessings is from other than Allah. So I think we mentioned something about fear. So if you fear something, some harm that's going to come to you from other than Allah, that's a form of shirk. So if somebody else can put fear in your heart to such a degree that you fear them. Now, somebody may point a gun now to you. Now, I've been here. Guy just get out of prison, suffering from all kind of problems. I don't have to say his name or whatever. Show me his gun. Or whatever. Naturally, you're going to be scared. Something's going to come over you, you know. I love living. I know Allah created death and life, but I love life. And the concept is that it is Allah who has created death and life, and the fear is to Allah. The harm that can come over you, or this or that, the fear, it is Allah who is in control of this creation. Now, we suffer to a great degree of man's deviation. This is another aspect. Sometimes a person go to cuss God. Why give me this disease? Why give me this burden? Many times we suffer from somebody else's deviation. You know, like the scientist, the mad scientist, he said, because of greed, I'm going to make this particular metal making process, but I'm going to dump the waste into the water stream and poison the fish or poison the water. So we drink the water, it comes to our house. After the purification process, we drink it and it causes a lot of cancers and a lot of things. And this is what has happened. The food chain is poisoned. The animals eat the food. We eat the animals, so we become a lot of the diseases. Some of these cancers, some of these whatever. It's just many diseases, physical diseases, that enter our existence because of disbelief. Because the person that's in that position to make that decision, they make the wrong decision. Or it's a situation physically where, for example, like today, we have AIDS. You see? And some people choose to, they get to talking about love and they get mixed up on the concept of love, and you know, and here two men. Oh, this is agape. The Greeks had all kind of different, the Greeks and the Romans. You know, the Romans got a deal called romance. You got two men holding hands, two ladies holding hands, and they're going to make this right. And Allah say in Quran, the male is different from the female. You ain't going to make that right. This is haram. No. But after they try to make these unnatural phenomena right, there are consequences. You see? So body fluids begin mixing this and that and the other. So what we're saying, why are we saying these things? The idea of shirk, or making partners with Allah and not following the direction, have consequences in the environment. This is what we could say very quickly. Now, there are three types of shirk. Three types of shirk. And it's called Ashirk al-Akbar. Now we know Akbar is great. Al-Akbar. Say Ashirk. Say Ashirk al-Akbar. Okay, Ashirk al-Akbar. This is the major shirk. Say Shirk al-Akbar.
Shirk al-Akbar.
Then you have another type of shirk called Ashirk al-Asghar. Ashirk al-Asghar, that's a minor shirk. Then you have Ashirk al-Khafai. That's inconspicuous shirk. Now, Ashirk al-Akbar, the major shirk, a major and serious polytheistic form, has four different aspects. There are four different aspects to Shirk al-Akbar. Four different aspects. And let's read them. The one aspect of Shirk al-Akbar, one aspect and manifestation of this type of shirk is Ashirk ad-Dua. Say Ashirk ad-Dua. Now, we can gather from this is a heavy one here. One of the manifestations of major shirk is called Ashirk ad-Dua. Now, you know, we make dua sometimes, don't we? You know what a dua is. We call out to Allah. Even before we learned how to say prayer, when we were Nation of Islam, we used to say prayer, but it was essentially a dua. We call out to God and we call it prayer because basically it was very close to what the Christians were. But we've come into Quran now. We've come into prayer. As-salat. But we used to make a dua, calling out to God. And we still make dua. We're not suggesting we stop making dua. Please don't put that construction on it. We still make dua. means a supplication to God. Rabbana, la tuzugh qulubana ba'da. Oh Allah, do not cause me to deviate after you have guided me aright. Grant me mercy from you, because surely you are the greatest liberal giver of mercy. See, that's a dua. That's in Quran. ربنا إنك جامع الناس ليوم لا ريب فيه إن الله لا يخلف الميعاد. Oh Allah, surely you are the gatherer of mankind on a day about which there is no doubt. Surely you will never fail in your promise. See, a lot of people doubting because they've been wrong. They've been tricked. They've been robbed with the true concept of God. See, Rabb, in fact, you get a clue the way I remember this concept. We say Rabbil Alameen, that God is the Rabb of all the worlds. That's the main thing that this society robs you of, and that is the correct concept of God. Now, I hope we don't sound too judgmental, and we're not presenting this dogmatically. Because if you do something in ignorance, God will forgive you. Allah will forgive you. You're not guilty if you're ignorant. You're doing it out of ignorance. Now, the person say, I'd rather stay ignorant because this is so good to me. You know, it's just like in slavery days. In slavery days, they put you in there when you're a man and you can't find a woman. You're not like other men. You can't find a woman. For you, it's difficult. So in a slavery day situation, they put you in there with any woman you want. But some men, you can conclude, well, maybe some men like slavery because you got all kind of put you in any woman. That's the main thing. But they'll put it in there with your mama, your daughter, your this, that. See? So some people want, there's a situation that they don't get the abstract. That's why abstract is real important to understand these things, these concepts. They're strong, powerful. So the idea of dua, shirk dua, invocation, means that you pray to other deities besides Allah. Meaning that when you call out to God, you calling out to other than God. You're calling out other than Allah. That's what that means. You're making a dua to other than Allah. You bow your head or you do whatever you do, then other than Allah. So what does this say? With this knowledge that you're not supposed to make a dua to other than He who created you, your mother, everybody else's mother and father, children, everybody in society. See, any sensible person can bear witness the man is speaking the truth, the woman is speaking the truth. If you just told a person, just with this knowledge, you just told a person, say, look, I'm a Muslim, I'm not to make a dua or supplication to anybody other than the one who created you and me and your mama and my children, your children, the supervisor you work for, their mother and father, everybody. I'm not to make a dua or a supplication to anybody but the one who created me, you, and everybody. I can't make a dua to them. Now, I know as much more I could say to this based on their worship. They might be a Hindu, they might be a Christian, they might be a this, and I could say a whole lot of stuff. But if I just gave them that definition, if they have a respect for rational knowledge, rational assessment, and human beings, God has put this rationality in every human being, so I don't have to belabor it. Now, when you begin to act otherwise, that's another message sent to the world. I don't worry about that. It's not me to judge you. But I tell you, so I'll share with you. Oh, I'm not to make a dua. That's a manifestation of shirk, al-akbar. Making duas to other than Allah. I'm not, as a Muslim, I'm not supposed to make a dua other than to Allah. I can't pray to Farad. I can't pray to Jesus. I can't pray to Krishna, Vishnu, Buddha. I can't pray to them. I have to pray to only who created me. I pray to the Creator. Name Allah. See, this society, and then now this society will say God, but you spell it backwards, you got dog. Well, see, there are those that want to make God an ascending creature and a descending creature. So if you spell it backward, you got dog. You got something low. Let us not talk about it, but we say God, you're talking about something low. Allah, there's no ilah except Allah. Now, ilah is a deity, and ilah is not an Allah. See? La ilaha illallah. There's no deity except Allah. So when you say the word Allah, now we know we got many people in Masonic orders, and they say Allah, and some people this and that, and they say Allah, and they go. But see, the one thing about this religion is once you Muslim and you come into the Quran, this is a complete package. You can't pick one aspect of it and try to rationalize or justify it. You'll be found out. Now, if it's because of ignorance or because of whatever, alhamdulillah. You know, Noble Drew Ali, beautiful brother, this, that, and the other. We got people come. I know brothers that come to Noble Drew Ali, and in fact, they identify they're very supportive of our community and whatever. But we know that Noble Drew Ali wrote his own Quran. See? He wrote his own Quran. It was a Quran that he wrote. He wrote his own Quran. The Ahmadiyya sect, you know, Nation of Islam, and we used to read that one, the Muhammad Ali. The Arabic is better perhaps than many other the translations I've seen. Muhammad Ali, translation of Quran, very good. But that's the Arabic, that's the Quran. But that community, the Ahmadiyya community, is not really recognized because they say Prophet Muhammad is not the prophet. They say Ghulam Ahmed. They don't look toward Mecca, they look toward Qadian. You should know these things. Now, eventually, they're going to have to address these things. If they're not addressing it, they're very good Muslims. I'm talking about doctors, scientists, Quran, write books. I'm telling you. But they say Ghulam Ahmed. They're Pakistani, the Ahmadiyya movement. Many of them in Detroit. I could say much more about this if time doesn't really permit it. But we have to understand. Now we've come into the Quran, there's no excuse. We can't invent a religion. No. And we're sharing with you these things. Okay, we don't want to deviate from what we're talking about shirk for the benefit of those who are here. Shirk al-Akbar. And one of the manifestations is a shirk ad-dua. We don't make duas to other than Allah. We don't make invocations. We don't say we believe in God and then go worship a statue. You see, or we say God was begotten, or God was born. Just like they say, some people, many of my Christian brothers say this. They say that, and sisters and relatives, they say that God was begotten. And Jesus is God. Jesus is God. They'll tell you this. Now we know that in their heart they're trying to get to where, and this Trinity is trying to get them to the oneness that they see. These are avenues that they're using, but they're trying to get to something. This Trinity is trying to get them to something. I know one preacher, he was huffed up, and sometimes you can't really go through and delineate a lot of this here, what we're trying to do right now. I was at work, and one of them preachers, he was talking to a group, and I don't get into a lot of their conversations in that area, but they pointed me out. The group really wanted to hear my input. And this preacher at work, he was just wound up. And he was talking about and he used the example about the egg. And he was talking about the yolk, and he did a good job, and he had it tied up. I'm telling you, because he was very enthusiastic, and it was highly spirited. But then I asked him, I asked him, well, what about the brown egg? And that just threw him out because he was all on the egg and he was at a white egg. And yeah, that's the problem. What about the brown egg? I didn't even deal. I said, use the brown egg. Just, but anyway, or the ice. Somebody say the ice. Look at ice. You got ice. You got ice. It's ice, and then you got water, and then you got steam, and they hear three, and they just go to salivating. But who wants a God that turns into ice or steam or whatever? And then if you understand it even from the chemical standpoint, from the periodic table and the atoms of hydrogen, and you're not really separating anything anyway. You're not. But anyway, it's a very infantile sort of approach. But the idea of trying to define God, you won't do the justice of trying to say, I have defined God. You'll never do that. I couldn't tell you this certain thing. No, I have faith. There's nothing in this creation. And how did I find that out? By Quran, the revelation. I'm just sharing it with revelation. There's nothing like God in this creation. No comparison. That's how we compare. We compare between male and female, up and down, hot and cold, by comparisons. You won't compare anything with God. There's nothing in creation that's comparable to God, Allah. Nothing. That's revelation. Then it says that Allah is not begotten, doesn't beget, or begotten. Now this is a God without sex. Some groups, they make God out of a man, then what the woman gonna say? You wonder why all these lesbian groups and all these women are all crazy, and a lot of the sisters then lost their direction. Because the man then put himself up there and deviated him. He's deified himself. Many of our Caucasian brothers, he deified himself and show you examples of his greatness. And we see examples of his greatness. But nobody wants to mention about the mess up that you have in society. So you get dazzled by the greatness that you see, this man has deified himself. But if you just know a little bit, it's going to be a time we're going to come into the reality of our situation. We're going to change this thing around when we grow into substance, grow into our rightful content, get spooked up, put on your little costume and wrap your head up and just think you got it. No. Okay. Another manifestation of shirk is ashirk al-niya wa arada wal qadr. This aspect implies intentions, purpose, and determinations in acts of worship or religious deeds, not for the sake of Allah, but directed toward other deities. This is another example of shirk al-akbar. In other words, you take niyyah. You know, when we make prayer, we say niyyah, make your intentions. I intend to pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Highly glorified is He. I intend to pray to Allah. I make niyyah to Allah. Now, if I make niyyah to any than Allah, I'm committing what's known as a major form of shirk. As shirk al-niyyah. I'm making a niyyah, an intention, to other than Allah. I know this is clear. Does it seem too heavy for people? I see my brothers and sisters. Is this heavy? Is it clear? You understand okay, it's clear. I don't want to, because sometimes you don't know. You want it to be clear. Okay. Intentions, purpose, and determination, acts of worship or religious deeds, not for the sake of Allah, but directed toward other deities. Now, this is a good point. Let's carry that point a little further. If I make niyyah to other than, which is clear for us. Now, I see my Christian brother. I don't need the Christian to tell me about Jesus. Now, I'm not saying that in a hostile way. If my Christian brother would say, here's one point 5 billion people on the one out of every person on earth is a Muslim. And we're the only non-Christian denomination or group that makes it an article of faith to accept all of the messengers of God. We accept Abraham. We accept Moses. We accept Noah. We accept Jacob, Joseph. You name them. We make no distinction between the messengers of God and the tribes, etc. That's not on us. This should be communicated from all forms of media. The Muslim accepts Jesus. And I did the Juma this past Friday, and we pointed out that when the slaves were in the ships coming over here, the Muslims already accepted Jesus. You weren't doing us a favor from bringing us over. Oh, we bring you to Jesus. We bring you to Christian land. And they didn't take you out of the churches. There was no church over there where he took us from. So if a Christian understands history, and these Christian professors and these professors, I see them. The slaves in the hulls of the ships been brought over and made. They wasn't slaves. They were made into slaves. The humans, the brothers and sisters. They were brought over and systematically made into slavery. A systematic process. Because if you have pride in yourself, you're going to resist. And this religion, when you take it genuinely, you're going to resist personalities getting over you and manipulating you. Some brothers, they look at you and they, what they know is supposed to influence you to some degree. You're supposed to fall down for them. They get a little knowledge and they get arrogant in their deportment. But if this religion is taught forthrightly, any human being, I don't want you to latch on to me. I'm telling you something that's going to help you. You ramp and stand up and you be preaching this religion like it's supposed to be preached. No, that's what you're supposed to do. But some brothers, they're gonna put it to you in such a way now. I'm so heavy, you want you to fall and bow down for me. No. This religion is plain. Look, anytime you come into dignity for yourself, you're going to resist you making a lord out of anybody. It's so plain, it's so beautiful. Look, our ancestors already, the Muslims, and it could be, there's some of the lands that were taken over Muslim lands. The Muslim already accepts Jesus and Jesus' mother. That was one, and it is, one continuous light of the messengers of God. Jesus, Moses, all of them were brothers. And Muhammad, and that was in the Revelation as well, because as we know, if you read Christian encyclopedia, the Jewish encyclopedia, you find that from the descendants of Kedar and Ishmael, this is where the Muslims come from, descendants of Abraham. The people that knew prophecy knew this. Descendants of Kedar, Ishmael, they knew that the Muslims would get a blessing as well. And it's not culturalism. You find some of the people think it's a particular culture. Sometimes the African, he have his robes on, he carry himself in such a way that he goes away. He loses his balance. Sometimes the African American, because he's close to the European over here, he loses his balance. It's not culture, your particular cultural expression. This is far more significant. So some lose their perspective and don't want to get the dignity. Allah say you should get the dignity for your community. we have to always let some other ethnic group come in here and sell us furniture, come in here and fix up our property, come in and do this. We've become so self-hated, we hate ourselves. Like that proverbial crab in the bucket that Carter G. Woodson spoke of. A bunch of crabs in a bucket, and the minute one climbs up, the other one pull them down. That imagery. You've seen crabs and crayfish, they climbing up in the bucket, and one climbs up, the other one pull him right back down. The leveling effect. We're all poor and ignorant, and we all got to remain that way. Anybody break out the group, hey, you two got too much education. You got to, and so we have a tendency to turn on each other. Okay, so the idea of shirk al-niyah to other than Allah. Look what Allah says in the Quran. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Whoever desires a life of the world and its glitter, to them we shall pay in full the wages of their deeds therein, and they will have no diminution therein. They are those for whom there is nothing in the hereafter but fire. Vain are the deeds they did therein, and of no effect is that of which they used to do. Allah doesn't diminish his creation for the person that wants it. If you broke and you don't have anything, obviously certain things have happened that kept you from getting it. But it's out here. Allah's creation is abundant for the righteous and the unrighteous. So if you're a righteous person and you're making no effort to address the dunya, try to improve your condition, you have missed a very significant understanding. So you don't want to forget your share of the dunya. Allah said, don't forget your share of the dunya. You get your share of the dunya. Don't you know that many people become immoral and many people lose their balance because of the lack of resources? Person lose resources, and then that's me go and knock somebody in the head. I'm going to go and knock somebody in the head and get mine. So when we become more proficient and have resources, this is a responsibility for us to do. Our own selves obligate us to do that. Okay, here's another manifestation of shirk. As shirk at-ta'a. This aspect implies rendering obedience to any authority against the order of Allah. Now, it says here in the Quran, the Jews and the Christians took their rabbis and their monks to be their lords, and by obeying them in things that they made lawful or unlawful according to their own desires, and not according to the orders of Allah. So if it's something that you like to do, or something you like, and Allah has already deemed this particular thing unlawful or lawful, they change it based on what their desires are. Oh, they didn't have refrigerators then, and they didn't have See, Allah, you turn on dangerous ground, we begin to change what Allah say. You know, Ezra rewrote, the Torah was destroyed. So Ezra rewrote it, and the Jews called Ezra the Son of God. They used that terminology as well. Many of the Jews were in Medina in the times of the Prophet. And they, because of nationalism was so strong, first they began to help and they saw the similarities, but they saw the Prophet wasn't just spiritual, the Prophet was establishing a community. And this was an answer to the call. You know, Islam came in the Dark Ages, 7th century. And Europe was in, oh boy, they had what, Pope Isidore. They had people to Rome and the Persia, and the world had gone into darkness. And when that light came, The prophet was a siraj and munir, a lamp giving light. When that light came of Quran, it began to spread out. A lot of people didn't like it. In fact, a lot of people got energy from the light. That Renaissance was really influenced by the knowledge of Islam. See, they had a thing between the popes and the kings. They would warn each other who's going to control the life of the people. And when they heard Islam, how Islam was, that affected them. As much can be said about that. But the idea of making knowledgeable people priests and lords to stand over you. And a lot of people like that equation because it also does a thing for them. Like, say, for example, if you've been a victim of what society offers, you'll laugh at these so-called holy people, what they espouse. But they are given certain propers based on the fact that you've been a victim to what they offer. They legitimize. They make legal what you've fallen victim to. Because they're not going to knock that. They're not going to say anything about that. Because they've made legal. They know what you're going through. They made legal. They make it legal. They make it legal. And by them making it legal, that's a psychological game. Put it all on them, see? Yes, it's legal. Put it on me. Okay, we're just dealing with aspects of shirk. Another aspect of shirk al-akbar, is called as shirk al-muhabba. Say ashirk al-muhabba. Ashirk al-muhabba, this implies showing the love which is due to Allah alone to others than Him. Now, that word hub means love. Hub. Ashirk al-muhabba. And this is what it says in the Quran. Yet of mankind are some who take for worship others beside Allah as rivals to Allah. They love them as they love Allah. But those who believe love Allah more than anything else. If only those who do wrong could see when they will see the torment that all power belongs to Allah, and Allah is severe in punishment. See, if you love something or someone more than you love Allah, you're going to have to do some soul searching. You're going to have to question yourself. Now, we as Muslims already told you we accept Jesus. We love Jesus and his mother. We love Abraham. We love Moses. We love Noah. We love all of the messengers of God. But if you love Jesus more than you love God, or make whatever. Now, if you're doing this out of ignorance like you don't know, it's not up to, no. I want you to interpret this right, because some people, they misinterpret it all the time. It is Allah who makes Muslims. In fact, you're born Muslim. The prophets say everybody's born Muslim anyway. It's just the conditions and circumstances you're born in change that around. 70 years ago, 99.9% of the African Americans were Christians. Go back 80 years. 99, and you didn't have to go to the church to get the ideas of what was taught in the church. There are many Caucasians are coming to this religion, and I would vision to see in the short future, you're going to see many, many more Caucasians in these Islamic and Muslim audiences. Many of them. Because many of them had been victimized from another standpoint. Their perceptions, they've been given this in many cases, given that, a large percentage of them. then a lot of percentage of us, we feel we have denial and protest and everything. It's going to have to be a settling out, you know. You know. And we're affecting the larger community. Our presence, what Islam is affecting the larger community, whether we realize it or not. So these racial and ethnic hang-ups, they're present, and we've been influenced by them as well. We've been influenced by the concepts of that. But shirk al-muhadba, love, when you love other than Allah, that's called shirk al-muhabba. That your love, and that's one of the attributes of Allah, is al-wadud, the love. And no one can love you like God can love you. So we just covered various forms of shirk. These were forms of the major shirk. Now we're going to deal with some minor shirk, which was called ashirk al-asgar, minor shirk. Now, these acts of minor shirk is called ashirk al-asgar al-riya. Riya means to show off. You want to be a show-off. Your main thing is just to show off. Some in you just want to be a show-off. That's shirk. That's a minor form of shirk. And we don't want to be guilty of that. And it says, any act of worship or religious deeds done in order to gain praise, fame, or for worldly purposes falls under this minor form. You do some act just for your own personal aggrandizement. You don't have the broader vision of the community. You see, you just do things just for your own personal aggrandizement. That's called shirk, al-riya. You want to be a show-off. Just a show-off. So we don't want to be a show-off. And we live in a society that's communicated. You know, the prophets, most of us really can't define the prophets, identify them. But the prophets weren't sent just to fight the wicked, to slay the wicked. The prophets were sent to show us what's the proper individual government that you should aspire and grow into. The prophets were sent to show you how to live your life as an individual. So when we study Prophet Muhammad's life and actions, it's to show us how we are to live our lives. You know, some people identify the prophets as just to come to slay the wicked. And they miss the advice of how to live a life. So we live in this sort of society where what's communicated by the market experts is that everybody should have what everybody else has, whether or not you can get it through legal means or what. So you have a bunch of people that feel, I should have this new car. I should have this new house. I should have a wife to look a certain way. Or I should have this. And they can't get it through this way. They get it through, you see. And a lot of this confusion is because they don't have the direction. And there are forces that don't want the true message to come out to the majority of the people. A lot of people are manipulated. And this information alone that we've imparted just so far would help the individual, because they'll see examples where you thrust into situations where you hear you making niyyah, or you making dua, or you loving, you see? And this is where we lose our direction. Okay. Then we have what's known as shirk al-kafai. This is inconspicuous shirk. This is shirk, implies being inwardly dissatisfied with the inevitable condition that has been ordained for one by Allah. Conscientiously lamenting that had you done or not done such and such, or had you approached such and such, you would have had a better status. Now, this is a situation where you say, good example of shirk al-kafai would be, if I was born white, I'll be in a better situation. I wish I was a white man. I can drive in the car like he has. I can have his beautiful wife. I can have, you see, this is, in other words, you're lamenting that your condition would have changed, if you would be in a better condition if this would have happened. No. Or if I hadn't went way down south and married that woman, I'd be in a whole lot better situation, because that woman, she just sent me through a thing. That's sure. You probably married her because she excited you. You liked her. You this, this was, that was your choice. You saw her in the bar dancing, and you liked the way she was shaking the booty, and the smoke was in, and she turned you on. Now you in the fire, and so many things happen. Now you saying, if I wouldn't have married that woman, I'll marry this one over here, I would have been. That's shirk. Don't look at life that way. It's called shirk we're going to say that one again. Shirk al-kafai is called an inconspicuous shirk. Now this type of shirk implies inwardly dissatisfied with the inevitable condition that's been ordained for one by Allah. Or you might find a person, give you another example. You might find a person been here for 40 years, even in the first, real in the first. They saw the time when we was all, standing up at attention and this and that and the other, and you hear, oh, I can remember when we used to do this, and we had this, and we had this. Now we ain't got nothing. That's shirk. No. What happened was supposed to happen. It was Allah's will that it happened that way. And we have to come into the consciousness, it was Allah's will. And if we looked at it properly, certain things happen. Our reaction to certain things, the government's reactions, the FBI's, whatever. But we can conclude, we can't cry over it. What can we learn from yesterday? Can we bring the best forward from yesterday? You see? But to lament that if such and such a thing would have happened, I would have been in a better situation. No. Allah knows what you went through. And maybe what you went through better qualifies you to step forward into something new. To step forward into something far more, sometimes what you didn't experience or what you experienced could either help you or harm you. It depends. But don't lament on it. If it had been another way, I would be in a better situation. Don't do that. That's shirk al-kafai. I would be in a better status if this wouldn't have happened. If I wouldn't have got sick. You can get a physical disease tomorrow. You go to the doctor examine you and say, Mr. Rashidin, you have 6 months to live. This is your prognosis. You're 54 right now, and our tests indicate that you have this. What we have to understand that it is Allah. When we get serious about the power of Allah, the fear of Allah, we see that Allah is in control. It affects our behavior. It affects our behavior. Okay, shirk, and this is a hadith said by the Prophet. Shirk in the Muslim nation is more inconspicuous than the creeping of a black ant on a black rock in the pitch darkness of night. And this inconspicuous shirk is expiated by saying twice the following sentences within a day and a night. O Allah, I take refuge from that I should ascribe anything as a partner in your worship. And I am conscious of that. And I beg your pardon for what sin which I am not aware of. So we just want to cover some aspects of shirk. I guess we can conclude with this information. I won't get totally into it, but it's very helpful. Because with this information, because you're going to see people take various positions. And with these points are very weighty, they're very weighty. We don't make dua to other than Allah. We don't state our intentions of supplication, niyah to other than Allah. We don't show our love and our affections to other than Allah to the degree of worship and making supplications. Now, we love our relatives, our wives, our children. We love them. The love that we show for self and this and that and the other. But what we have to understand that it is Allah who has blessed us with our relatives, ourselves. And when we lose a close one, a relative or whatever, this was a gift from Allah. But we don't, let me give you an example of how this works. Here's my wife. I love her so dearly. And our relation gets strained and we're no longer husband and wife. So I feel that life is no longer worth me going on, or she feels life is so she jumps out a window or shoot her brains out. We hear these things every day. People lose their loved ones, or people lose whatever, and they say, my life is not worthy to go on. But we have to look at it, that the love for what Allah has given us as a blessing is no justification for killing ourselves. Person go to the bottle, lady go to drugs because the old man left her with a house full of children. There's no justification for her to destroy her life. It's a hadith say if you destroy your life, the way you destroy your life, you're going to be brought back into the judgment, and that act that you used to destroy your life would happen over and over and over and over and over again. If you put a noose around your neck and kicked the table from under it and hung yourself, you'll be raised in the judgment, walking up on the chair, hanging yourself over and over and over and over again. That's the gist of that hadith. That's all we're going to say on that one. Some of these hadith, I've read a lot of them, but some of them I don't just discuss in general. But I just remember that one. Alhamdulillah. Okay, that means all praise is due to Allah. Okay, we're going to close out with al-kufr, or disbelief, and its various manifestations. Kufr is basically disbelief in any of the articles of faith in Islam. And the articles of faith are to believe in Allah, to believe in His angels, to believe in His prophets, to believe in His revealed books, the day of resurrection. It seems like I hear some quails outside. I hear a lot of mumbling. Revealed books, the day of resurrection, and the fate, reward and punishment. Whatever Allah has ordained to come to pass, it will come to pass. The qadr. وَقَدْرُ خَيْرِهِ شَارِهِ مِنَ اللَّهِ تَعَالَى. What reward and punishment. That's the article of our faith. Fate is called fate or qadr.